Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews here, back from my official holiday from October 2025. I recently spent 7 days away in Egypt with my partner and it was glorious. It was fantastic in terms of the climate. It was really gorgeous weather, really hot, but just a completely brand new world experience kind of thing. Seeing the pyramids, seeing a lot of iconic locations and just history. The whole country, the whole place is bedded in real deep connected history and culture, and just kind of understanding and learning it from the tour guides and being actually on the locations. And it's one thing seeing in a movie or a television show, and another thing actually being in the location, being in the environment, smelling it, feeling it, just getting a real sense of the day-to-day life that Egyptians basically do. I really enjoyed my time there. It was very kind of active in terms of kind of just spending some days at the pool and the hotel, and other days doing some very active things with Luxor, Cairo, and the Red Sea and things like that, and just having a day experience in terms of in the sand and the desert and doing quad biking. So really fantastic experience. I really enjoyed my time there, and I will be doing some sort of montage video. I'm officially back now in the UK, and I've come back to some goodies. There's some really cool physical media stuff, and I've got lots to do alongside basically having the rest of this week off, going back to work soon and then starting a new job. So busy, and I got a lot to do, a lot to catch up on, and I'm going to do my very best to kind of get through some stuff with excitement and glee, and just kind of been looking forward to kind of checking this stuff out for quite some time. And I wanted to do this video because I thought it'd be a really good one to do in terms of the official release for the Nightmare on Elm Street collection on 4K high definition. Love the Nightmare on Elm Street series of films, one of my all-time favorite horror franchises. Horror for me, and alongside sci-fi, has been one of the most defining genres, and one of the things that I've always enjoyed growing up in terms of not just mainstream films, but also foreign cinema, as mentioned before, channel, and Hong Kong and Japanese has been another outlet in terms of the more horror psychological aspect of their films as well. And Freddy Krueger, the king and the granddaddy of them all, the one who has so much lip, so much mouth and attitude, and so much swagger at times, and just pure evil, someone who's so relished in enjoyment of his actions. It's such a interesting kind of contrast compared to some of the other iconic villains in the series. I think him and Chucky definitely have the kind of a tie there in terms of the sadistic kind of nature that these characters go for in terms of their own supernatural kind of prisons they have, essentially one being in nightmares, one being a little doll. And to finally get this series now in 4K and high definition, and not just the first one, which they did do an individual release originally. I knew they were going to do all of them. They always seem to do this in terms of kind of Warner Brothers or kind of Paramount or some of the others kind of thing. They always do a bit of a dip. They do the first movie and then they wait for an entire collection later on. So it's always worth waiting for a collection, and my God, it's been glorious. Now, one of the many reasons why I want to do this video is a kind of a return back video. I will be doing the Shaw Bros. Volume 4 box set very soon. I'm going to be diving into all those films, breaking them all down individually. A lot of Hong Kong content for you guys very soon, and breaking down those extras will take some time, so please bear with me, alongside some other test discs I do have and some other standard releases I do want to go dive into. But Nightmare on Elm Street has been my all-time favorite franchise mentioned. I love this series, and obviously the Friday the 13th, which is Freddy vs. Jason from Shout Factory, and the Never Sleep Again, which is the US version, which is the extended documentary, the definitive documentary, talking about all the movies from 1 to 7, with most of the cast and crew and practical effects, and just a stacked cast. Definitely worth getting this. I think you can get this now in the UK from 101. They've also released it, but that's just the version at the time. Also, to my surprise, coming back to, which I didn't expect, and pleasantly delighted in terms of when I found, I was also given a review copy, a physical review copy of Nightmare on Elm Street, the collection standard version, which I picked up myself, the Steelbook edition, which is now sold out in the UK, I believe. So it's going for crazy money on eBay. I was really surprised to receive a standard version for review purposes, which is very nice. And I'll have a little think about what to do with this edition soon. But yeah, thank you very much to Warner Brothers to kind of sending me this, and obviously got my official purchase, which I did from HMV, which arrived roughly the same time. So I only got a chance to check out the first movie so far in terms of the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I haven't watched any of the others, but I've watched these films countless times over since I was young, having the DVDs, the Blu-rays, now the 4K sets. So I've had a very brief look at the terms of the 4K transfers, and they are fantastic. They are glorious. They're the best the films are ever going to look. These are brand new, from ground up remasters from the directors coming back in and just doing a really great job. And also for the first time, doing uncut versions on the first one, and I believe on the fifth one as well, which were never released proper officially on a proper high definition. I think Laserdisc or something along those lines, or maybe VHS. So it's great to see them, and obviously having the Freddy's Dead, having the 3D glasses, which I'm going to try out soon to see how that works with the TV, and very, very exciting, alongside some new extras included on the edition. It doesn't really dive into in terms of these special features on the version. He just mentions about special features there, so I'm curious to see what they would have. I don't know if they would take away some special features from the original Blu-ray set, which had quite a few there, but that only had the first section of the documentary for the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but not any of the others. So I do think having that, it will be the definitive one alongside any kind of a new, brand new kind of talking about the films, hopefully some new audio commentaries, which I think will be quite beneficial and quite good. Even on the little slip here, which is part of the Steelbook edition, it features the exact same thing. So it does mention on here, including Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Child, theatrical and uncut versions, 7 film collector's edition, 3D glasses, portions for Freddy's Dead Five Nightmare, and the special features included as well. So I figured I would do a bit of a tribute video to the Steelbook edition, standard version, the all-round Nightmare on Elm Street kind of series a little bit, give you a very brief idea of what I think of all 7 films, and I will do a full, more detailed breakdown of each film, maybe down the line, maybe after I finish the Shaw Brothers films, just depending on my schedule, depending on what time I can fit in, depending on what you guys want to see. If you guys want to see me review all 7 movies, including Freddy vs. Jason, I definitely can do that. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I will be diving into all these films during Halloween week, something to really look forward to. Again, always seen the first one, so looking forward to watching all the others on high definition 4K, so maybe I can try and do a bit of a catch-up video if you guys are interested in that. But plus I'm very much aware and conscious that everyone and their mother has done a video on the Steelbook edition, on the standard version, and on the films, and on the 4K transfers, and breaking down every single one from the US release recently. So I don't want to kind of imitate or kind of copy or kind of make this video kind of redundant. I just want to purely show my appreciation, one, to Warner Brothers for sending me a review copy. I really do appreciate, and I will do a potential follow-up video to this, kind of talking about what I think of watching all 7 films again and seeing that kind of transfer. But in terms of just the first one by itself alone, and having a brief look at the restoration work, it looks gorgeous. If you're a Nightmare on Elm Street fan, if you've got that old Blu-ray set, definitely worth considering picking up, whether it's the standard version, whether it's the Steelbook edition, if you can find it now, because it is out of print in the UK, and I will be looking at the certificate to see which number I get in a minute. Whatever version you get is definitely the one to go for. And the good thing, again, mentioned on this, it just include the Blu-ray. So if you just have a Blu-ray player, you don't have the 4Ks yet, you can get that new transfer on the Blu-ray. Obviously, it won't be as good as the 4K edition disc, but it will give you that new transfer look as well. So this is the best the films are ever going to look, and it's great to celebrate these films on high definition. And it's great to see a lot of my favorite films and franchises getting really 5-star treatments. Let's have a look at that sort of certification. Let's see which one I get. Oh, I'll show you the Steelbook artwork there. So nice, really good to see the original posters on these, which look really quite fantastic. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get the Steelbook edition, because I'm a huge fan. I love the poster work, and I think it's just a case of, do you want an individual release in terms of per Steelbook edition and have this little cool artwork there and pay a little bit more, or just want like a nice kind of, if you want a nice kind of collector's kind of set, nice and simple on the shelf, yeah, add on to the collection there. Either edition is great to get, don't get me wrong. So let's have a look. So we are at number there. So we are at 13871 out of 15,000. So that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. It's not one of the lower numbers, but so 13,871. So that is a pretty high number. But you get this, yeah, double disc there. So to give you a very brief summary on all 7 films in terms of my thoughts, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven classic, instantly one of the best of the genre, defined a whole series of kind of imitators as well, Freddy Krueger, Robert England is incredible. I'd love to meet him one day, maybe get signed autographs if he ever comes into the UK. Just perfect casting, perfect ideas, creative as hell. Just Wes Craven at his absolute best in terms of, springboarding some other great kind of franchises in his wake as well. So yeah, it's the original, it's the best, and it definitely holds up really well. And it's just unbelievably 80s, which is great. I love it. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I think everyone can agree with, is the kind of the outcrier of the collection usually. Has some very strange ideas. Definitely a film you can appreciate individually by itself. I definitely think there's some really good stuff in here in terms of the practical effects. I don't mind Freddy trying to invade a body and trying to come into the real world. That's a cool idea, and I've seen that been done in other movies as well. You've seen Black Phone 2 recently, definitely taking some liberties and some inspiration from Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and some of the ideas there. Makes some really questionable decisions in terms of Freddy's kind of abilities and what he does, and it's not a traditional Nightmare on Elm Street film. It kind of steers off course a little bit, but still has some really great stuff in it ultimately. Dream Warriors, definitely, obviously, my second favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. Of course, I think everyone can agree upon that. Dream Warriors was a much better course correction, more in line with the first one in terms of Wes Craven's original vision. If you watched Chuck Russell's recent interview he did on a podcast, he talks about this film and talks a lot about this one, and I think he did a really amazing job. And most of that guy's directing films I love and own on Blu-ray or in some form or another. Just great ideas. Again, Freddy at his absolute prime time bitch. I love the ideas of kind of like these teenagers fighting back, having powers and abilities. Makes sense because it's the dream world, and obviously Freddy is much stronger. His evil is much more powerful. And again, continuing on that mythology and exploring the not just Freddy, but also the other characters as well. The collection of teenage characters in this one really are stand out and really are really likable and notable. And he's just great. Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Oh man, love that artwork. Absolutely incredible there. I actually really like this. I really dug this. When I first got into Nightmare on Elm Street, I love 1 and 3 only. I only ever watched those 2 movies, and Freddy vs. Jason. They were essentially my trilogy, which is a great trilogy to watch. But eventually, when I got back into them, I thought, you know what? I actually haven't seen 4 or 5 properly, and I wanted to watch the entire series. And I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed the 4th one a lot. And I thought, considering the character was dead and was done, I think it was a really good end to the 3rd one. It somehow manages to create a good entry. It's like a Saw movie. Each Saw movie is like, which one's going to be the outcry, which one's going to mess up, and how can they keep this ridiculous story, this mythology keep going, and somehow they still keep going. Compared to someone like Halloween or Friday the 13th, especially, where it kind of makes up itself of where it wants to go every left, right, and center. This is a consistent franchise, a very consistent kind of ideas. Being the fact you've got different directors, different writers involved usually. The 4th one I thought was very good, and I thought the ideas were fantastic in terms of soul food and, in terms of the ideas of souls and him wanting to break out the curse of the Nightmare on Elm Street kids and branch out into new ventures. And I like that. I thought the ideas here are just really stellar and just, again, very, very creative. Here you go, guys, little meatballs there. Got number 5, which is a continuation of 4. So it kind of wraps up 3, 4, and 5. I just done, again, a trilogy by itself, and does a really good job. Takes a few swings, again, diving into Freddy's so desperate now, he's invading a unborn child's mind and that dreams and has a connection to keep having that ability and that power. Again, just the consistency of the ideas and the mythology are so interesting, and obviously adding on more to it. I just love the ideas of Freddy kind of coursing a kind of an unborn child into his own image and kind of, to kind of gain power and to gain their souls kind of thing. I think it's a very interesting kind of idea. And again, introducing some really cool stuff from the previous entry in terms of his mother and, we'll see, bitch, we'll see kind of thing. And, the nun that has, domain kind of things trying to stop Freddy. And I love that. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which of course wasn't The Final Nightmare. A very strange movie. Definitely one of the weaker ones. Nowhere near as weak as the second film in terms of the story. But I think it's a very odd movie in terms of being a little less violent, a bit more cartoonish. It's obviously got some 3D ideas, and it's going to explore in the mythology. It kind of goes the Final Friday kind of idea. And again, diving into some flashbacks, Freddy's daughter, which is interesting. And the bargain he's made with an ancient force, which is quite a cool idea. And again, not really kind of touched upon again since this one. I think it has some great ideas. Again, I think overall it's a good film. It's a really fun movie, great characters, some really fun creative kills, very cartoonish, very over the top, very kind of sadistic again from Freddy, but nowhere near as violent or as creative as it could have been. I like the idea of the Nightmare on Elm Street town being basically a ghost town. You know, being the fact he's massacred all the kids in that town, and there's not many people left now, and he's just again wanting to break out of that curse and explore new nightmares, new kids, new towns, but he's stuck within a limitation. And I like the idea that between the last one and this one, he's kind of trying to break out of that. And I think that's a really interesting kind of cool concept. Something that Freddy vs. Jason does, where the town literally forgets about him, which links into the franchise, and he has to kind of bring Jason into that, you know, in Elm Street to kind of cause some chaos and to get people to fear him again, kind of thing, to regain his power. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is the Wes Craven coming back after God knows how long, which is a, again, precursor to Scream. This was his kind of like proto kind of Scream idea in terms of the idea of meta kind of commentary, this idea of we're living in the real world now, air quotes, where we got a lot of the original cast come back, making the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and we've got Nancy back as the actual actress and playing a version of herself, very Curb Your Enthusiasm, and this idea that Freddy is an entity by himself. You know, the Rob Liggins is embracing him and having fun, and the fact that he's a pop icon kind of thing with kids and on lunchboxes, and something is not quite right. They are making another of these Nightmare on Elm Street films, and something is happening. You know, deaths are happening all mysteriously, and we've got this kind of cosmic evil entity which is latched on to Freddy in terms of an idea, in terms of a mythology, in terms of just a pure sensual kind of, you know, celestial form of evil, and bringing this person to life. And it's a very different kind of Freddy Krueger. It's not the same one from the original movies. Got a very different kind of metal kind of glove this time around. Still very much is the character of Freddy Krueger, but very, very different in terms of how he acts a little bit here and there, and not as sadistic as I usually would be, but just a lot more meaner, a lot more mean-spirited. And we've got this version of the character terrorizing the actresses from the first one, alongside some of the co-stars, and it's becoming a mixture between reality versus dream and going back and forth. It's a very interesting, very bold, again, taking a swing at a series like this, and I think it's always good to kind of keep it on its toes and do something fresh. And then obviously Freddy vs. Jason was not too long around the corner, and that was the final entry of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So overall in this video, I want to say a big thank you to Warner Brothers and the distributor who sent me this physical copy of the Nightmare on Elm Street collection on 4K, which I really was not expecting. I usually get test discs on a lot of the stuff I do, so I really do appreciate that, and that has not gone unnoticed. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video was to celebrate the fact that, you know, someone who's given me this edition and kind of wanted to see my opinion of it, and the fact that I've already supported them by buying the physical steelbook edition, which I absolutely love. Highly recommend if you can get a copy of that, if it's still available. Just be cautious on the scalping prices. The 4K transfers are absolutely fantastic. Obviously the first one looks amazing. I've seen briefly of the others and they all look incredible. Really looking forward to diving into all of these films very soon for Halloween, spooky season, and checking out those brand new extras, what's on there as well. Nightmare on Elm Street Collector's Edition Steelbook and the standard version on 4K. I will do potentially a follow-up video on this very soon once I've checked out all the other films. Obviously, I've got a few other tests to get through in terms of the Shaw Brothers, and a few others have come my way, and a few standard versions, editions that I've picked up that I want to talk about as well. So please stay tuned. What are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street as a series? What is your favorite film? What are your thoughts on the editions? What do you think is the best one? Which is one you're going to go for? Which one you're able to go for? Love to know your thoughts and impressions, guys. Please comment down below. Same time, guys, and for reviews. Signing out.